If we cut him, he gon' bleed a lot. We the Israelites, the ones you always read about. Scriptures heavy as a semen block. We the righteous nightmares on the Edom block. If we cut him, he gon' bleed a lot. We the Israelites, the ones you always read about. Scriptures heavy as a semen block. We the righteous nightmares on the Edom block.
I love the book of Obadiah, he killing Esau. Fight up his heart, put him in chains, and that's all he saw. Ain't no going back and forth, this ain't no seesaw. Them chairs coming from the sky, and he gon' see y'all. All praises to Yahweh, Babylon gon' burn. Hopefully I did enough for my spot, it was earned. Every day we hit the streets so our people can learn. Teaching the truth about this life that our nation deserve. Set a nigga up with scriptures, it ain't no debate. I'm living life and it's true, why these niggas be fake? It be funny when it's...
What's going on with you, man? Yeah, let me talk to you real quick. Yeah, man, let me talk to you. Let me talk to you. What's going on? What's your ethnicity? It's Irish, English, and Italian. Mediterranean. Right? So what I'm hearing is white, young. You agree?
Yeah, white, tan. Yeah.
White, tan. Okay, so my question I wanted to ask you, man, is what do you think about the rape, robbery, and murder that your people committed against my people?
It's not good.
It's not good.
Yeah. The history of humanity is so dirty.
Well, how do you think we can go about this? What do you think we could do to go about to fix that problem?
The biggest thing would be investing in communities, education especially, giving people an alternative to the cycle of, gangs and crime and the system and all that.
Educate, what field of education would you? Because I was just up there. I was just saying that one of the biggest things that your people have taken away from my people is our humanity. Right? Your people took away the humanity of my people. Right? Because when my people got off the boats, we weren't calling ourselves Negroes, blacks, African Americans. Right? We didn't call ourselves that. You put those things on, taking away our humanity. How do we fix that?
That's a long process. I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's like a single answer to that. It's just treat everyone with dignity. Everyone more than just like service to it. Actually like leading every ethnicity same as you would your own.
But I mean, why? How can you do that when I don't know who I am?
Yeah. The long road. It's not silver bullet.
And even so, I wouldn't want you to treat me like another white person. I don't want that.
Not like a white person, but at the same level of respect. Like saying, you don't look at a certain race and like off pass judgments before you even get to know them.
Why not?
Well, in a negative connotation, anyways. Sorry.
Well, I mean, okay, so we would say that if I said that white people are prone to violence, would that be a negative connotation?
It could be. I mean, really, you could say people are prone to violence. But
I'm talking about white people specifically. Like, would that be a negative connotation? Or would it be incorrect?
It would not be incorrect, but when you're saying like prone to, like talking about like compared to everybody else.
Yeah, I'm saying that everywhere. When you look at history, everywhere that the white man has went, murder happens.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere.
Sure.
There's not one place where they go and it's peaceful. Murder happens.
Right. I get it. Yeah, that's true.
So then it would be. So would it be a problem for me to judge white people like that?
No, history is history. That's,
given their track record, right?
Yeah.
Because like I say up here jokingly, but I mean I say it for a reason. That stereotypes exist for a reason, right? It's not. It may not be. You get some of the stuff that's ridiculous, Right? Not all Asian people are smart.
Yeah.
But when you look at white people, it's stereotypically to say that they're prone to violence, right? That's a correct stereotype.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you can say throughout history, more powerful civilizations have always trampled on when they can, whether it's the Romans or even there's several empires in Africa that were, big on enslaving too, like the Songhai Empire and there's an empire that used to be at Ethiopia. I forget the name. It was the Ethiopian Empire. So there's been like a large track record of humanity when it can.
But were they going around oppressing any and everyone that they came across?
Like to be sure, the transatlantic slave trade was much more brutal than past slavery instances. Because, the Vikings enslaved a lot of Irish and British and sold them to the Chinese, but it wasn't nearly nowhere else did they sardine pack hundreds of people into a ship and then basically work them to death for a couple hundred years.
But those empires that you mentioned, right, outside, that weren't white, were they going around just oppressing any and everyone that they came across?
No, they were conquering their neighbors, and then they did sell quite a few of them off as slaves, but they were not going around just to destroy. They were kind of expanding their empire at the time. But you could say that because of the fact that, especially in the last, the 1500s to 1900s, probably most of the big empires were run by white civilizations like Britain.
Mm-hmm.
There's quite a few, but because of that, and then the fact that they learned where new lands were and stuff, we had quite a lot of that happening.
But why do you think white people are so prone to violence?
I don't know that it's specific. I mean, you look at the statistics and they might be a little higher, but I think that the story is that humanity itself is violent. And as to what would make white people more violent, I don't know what would cause it. I think it's just the fact that they were the ones running the powers at the time, and big powers tend to trample on people because they want the resources or they want whatever it is they're after, and if they can take it, a lot of times they do.
But I mean, I can understand that, but I'm saying like you see white people all over the world, right? In every country.
Oh yeah.
Right? They are at the, and if they're not a predominant face in certain countries, they're heavily influenced in those countries.
Yep. I say that's a remnant of the last couple hundred years where they were obviously highly entrenched in positions of power. And, anyone in power, they don't want to give it up. So it's going to be a long process before all of the side effects of the last couple hundred years are worn out. So hopefully it moves in the right direction where you get more of an equal, or the people in power is more of an equal representation of the population.
You think that would be a something that they would want to happen?
Some people, but
the people, not somebody talking about the people who are in power. You think they would want to give me my humanity back? So I'm no longer calling myself Black, African American.
I mean, I bet there's some that do, but a lot of people, usually people in power, or the wealthy, or the people who they want to keep the system the way it is because it's working for them.
Yeah, because as long as I'm Black, as long as I'm African American, I'm not going to focus on what what's really happening.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on this Madden to come out.
Yeah, so as long as we're fighting each other, we're not fighting the people that are actually oppressing everybody. You know, the people in the high rises and the people who are like the CEOs who have way more money than they should and stuff. Like those are really the people who are causing all the problems.
So you don't think it's a racial thing?
It is a racial thing because it's a remnant of, like, you know, they had the whole where they gerrymandered like who they would give house loans to. In a lot of places, you still get people looking, you know, giving sideways looks to, you know, people, especially if there's not a lot of blacks in that community. You know, so it's not equal everywhere.
So if it is, since we agree that it's a racial thing, why should we allow you to fight with us?
Well, I mean, the race
against your race.
The race that's a part. It's not against my race per se, because there's people in power that are not just white. You know, mostly you're right. Mostly it is white. That's the majority. You know, it's really a struggle. I would say that the people who have way more than they need and want to keep it that way.
And they're typically white, though, right?
Typically, but it's
but like I said, if they're not white, they're heavily influenced by white people. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it also is a representation of the amount of population. You know, there's a larger amount of white people, percentage-wise, just because there's been more immigration from there. You know, so like, yeah, a lot of it is white, but if you look at percentage-wise, you know, like it kind of reflects that. But you know, you got wealthy people in power, you know, and it's going to be, hopefully, will become more as time goes on, even more diverse. You know, compared to the 50s, more diverse.
Let me ask you a quick question, right? So we understand this whole campaign and the stark stance against illegal migrants, and you know what I mean. And they were exploring a pathway to citizenship for them, right? Now that's out the window. But here goes Trump trying to sign executive orders and try to take this to Congress and Senate that the white Afrikaans community in South Africa can get a right away door open.
I saw that, yeah.
That's, to me, hypocrisy.
Yeah, that's crazy. They're not oppressed by any means. What are they? They're like Dutch. They were Dutch.
They're Dutch and French.
Yeah.
Like, they were Dutch and French, but still they were still part.
African.
They were still part of a colonization of Africa. You know what I'm saying?
Apartheid.
Yeah, they're the ones with the apartheid. They're the ones that they're the affected party of the new South of Africa. The new South Africa, once apartheid ended, they're the affected party of that.
Yeah.
Because their fathers and their grandfathers were the power during South African apartheid.
Still own way more of the land, almost all of the land.
Absolutely. So South Africa was like, what's it called? Take back the land and redistribute the land that they took to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Because these people came. You ever heard of the empty land theory? The empty land theory is when with the Dutch and the French pushed saying that South Africa was empty land when they got there. No one was there. But we know that the culture, the South African indigenous tribes were there always. You know what I'm saying?
That's home to one of the oldest cultures in the world, the San people.
The San people, the San.
Bushmen. That's not good.
And the Zulu too.
Yeah, Zulu, yeah.
Now, it's a trip to me because Israel, the Israeli state right now, this is where they get their apartheid practices from. The playbook straight from them, because in South Africa they had a big Jewish rabbinate there. A rabbinate meaning figureheads of jewelry. You know what I'm saying? So they've always had their hands in South Africa.
Yeah.
and this is where they get their playbook at. You know what I'm saying? And this is the type of machine, you know what I'm saying, that pretty much pushes the whole world. And we know that they're in control of America, right? They already infiltrated the American government through financial aid.
A lot of lobbyists here.
Lobbyists or extortionists? Extortionists, let's just call it how it is.
And they're dual citizens in the American Congress and politics. That's illegal.
That should be. That should be treason, because we're not saying dual citizens can't hold Senate chairs or whatever, but when it comes to Israeli-American dual citizenship, Israel is the first allegiance. We've seen this over and over and over and over. It doesn't matter if they're French Jewish, British Jewish, wherever they're at. Their first allegiance is to the Israeli state. And we got people in American Congress and Senate chairs with Israeli dual citizenship. Some of them, they even served in the IDF. You know what I'm saying? And this government right now is literally the puppet of the Israeli state. And the Israeli state got their arms so far up their behind and doing this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're the problem, man.
We do back them when we would, if other countries did what they were doing, we would be up in arms about it. It's kind of a double standard there for sure.
It's crazy, especially after the USS Liberty. Where is the United States sentiment of they hunted Osama bin Laden until his death? But when the Israeli state actually attacked American service member, killed like 80-something, 135 injured, attacked the U.S. naval ship. What then? Where's that sentiment that we're going to hunt you down and we're going to punish you now? Right? They're in control of everything. These small hats are in control of everything, man. They're literally the common denominator of all atrocities on the earth.
So, I don't know too much about that, but, you know. Yeah. All right, are we good? Anything else?
I mean, you know, I was still trying to figure out, you know, if you had any solution, so like, cause I'm trying to figure it out, man, because like you were saying,
So what I would say is
go ahead.
education, like really invest in the communities, like, but not just some bullshit, like, you know, half-assed. We do a lot of shit half-assed,
Right?
You know, but like really give them like a solid education and like full scholarships to go to good colleges, so they can actually get not just like a job where you're working like minimum wage and basically like a career, like a career where you can support you and your family, and you have an alternative to the lifestyle.
But you know what has to happen to go to college? These are free scholarships, right?
Yeah.
Free scholarships are different, but you know, some people have scholarships based on academia, sports, things like that, which is fine. But you know, I used to work for the Department of Education, and a lot of people have degrees, but guess what? They don't have any experience. So when you get a degree, no experience, you try to apply for a job, and like, well, you don't have experience now. I can't hire you.
Yeah.
So guess what? You go in debt. Then you have to work somewhere else, or you have to do some pro bono work under the table, or you know, some kind of apprenticeship. You get some experience under your belt, so your degree can mean something. 'Cause right now, people are going to colleges and they're not capitalizing off the degree because they don't have any experience anymore.
Yeah.
That's the catch-22 at this time. So guess what? If those black people go to school for free, they have a degree with no experience, it's the same thing.
Hopefully they would. I know some colleges will start interning people their last year. You know, so
But how many can they take
Exactly.
if there's thousands of graduates
Yeah, exactly.
in the same field? That's never going to work. It's going to be oversaturated,
Yeah.
and it's never going to get done.
They'll offer not just the traditional education path, but also like, you know, trade schools, like the unions.
They took that out.
Do they? Well, yeah, bring it
You
back.
have to pay for trades now. It used to be free back in the 60s and 50s.
Yeah, so bring that back.
Learn all that in high school.
Yeah.
But they don't. Why would they do that? They're not going to help us. That's the thing. They're not going to help us.
That would be a solution. That's what done to help fix the problem.
But we already had that. And guess what? They took it out because we had too many. We had a lot more power than we have.
So bring it back.
And that's why it's kept. That's why they got rid of those things in the 60s and 70s.
So bringing it back.
We were funding freedom fighters with our education. So we didn't have to go to college to be a plumber or a technician or electrician, things like that. Carpenter. We had our own businesses based on our high school education. And we didn't have to go to college to go in debt. So they figured, like, man, this is how they're supporting Martin Luther King and these other activists. They don't have to go in debt. They have the money to fund this. And of course, the cost of living is way less back then. So guess what they did? They took all those trades out of the schools.
Yeah, so bringing them back.
Got rid of all the factories.
Would be a good solution, like part of the solution.
But why would they do that? They're not going to help us. That's the point.
I know they people in power might not want you now, but that's something that could be done.
So we have to depend on the people in power.
No.
That's who's going to introduce this type of ideology.
Yeah.
Where's the money going to come from? White people. Why would they do that? They're not going to help us, bro. That's the thing.
It depends on the.
We are regressing as a society. Right or wrong. It's going to get way worse than it is right now.
In some moral aspects, yeah.
Moral?
In other aspects.
Morality's been done in America.
Yeah.
We're talking about the idea you're forwarding. Trade schools, free college.
Yeah.
That's not going to do anything.
You don't think it'll help at all?
No. We already did that. Plus, like I said before, even if I do graduate, even if I do have a trade, who's going to hire me? If there's 50,000 white people, 50,000 black people, and the people that own these companies have a choice to hire somebody, who are they going to hire?
It depends. I mean,
bro, let's be real here.
Not everyone is just hiring.
That's why affirmative action exists. What's affirmative action? They have to be forced to hire by people. They're not going to do it on their own accord.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you an example of what happened with me back in the day. I was working in the pharmacy at Pharmacy Tech. I used to work at Folsom Prison as a pharmacy tech. Walmart, I had a lot of experience. That's what we call to this day. I get emails to this day, but they don't pay enough, so I don't want to do that no more. But I'm saying that to say, back then, I was looking for a job. I had an interview, I think, at a Target pharmacy. Went there, they didn't hire me. I'm like, whatever. They called me back like a month or two later for an interview. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. That's interesting. But you know what they did? They had somebody else sitting behind the lady that was interviewing me doing like a practice interview. I was just a practice run for them.
Oh, really?
That's what I figured out. Like, oh, she not hiring me. She's over telling her what to say. Oh, that's like, but oh, this is a practice run for this quote unquote manager or whoever's lead.
Should have told you that.
No, I figured it out as the conversation was going. Like, oh, they use this as like a pawn. They never wanted to hire me, but I had the experience. I had way more experience in a retail pharmacy. I worked in the prison.
Yeah.
The state facility.
Yeah.
But guess what? I'm black. Quote unquote black. I'm Dominican actually, but I look black. They're not hiring me. I had way more experience than them. But guess what? That's the type of shit they do.
Yeah, it is.
And that's my point. If a white person came in there with my credentials, welcome aboard.
Personal experience, I'd say that about 40%. I grew up in a pretty white town. There's some black people, but I'd say about 40% of white people are pretty racist.
I believe all of them are. And there are certain aspects. I'm not saying this verbally and action-wise.
To a degree, I mean,
if you can control my livelihood, that's all you need.
That's true.
And you can smile on my face. I can work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? They'll never let me move his. I was talking to a black guy not too long ago. He lives out here. Brother, you interrupted. You got to interrupt. You got to wait. Black guy, older black guy. He used to be an ex-police officer in Long Beach. Guess what he told me?
What's that?
10 years in the force, a police officer. Good, a good name, you know, did his job. He wanted to become a higher up. Guess what? They never pushed him over the level.
They got quite a few police officers and all over that are chiefs.
Of course, but that's a select few.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Once you get past a certain level, you have to turn a blind eye to certain things.
Yeah.
Sell out.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's my point. He probably wasn't going to be a sellout. And first of all, they have gangs in the police force.
Yeah.
You heard about that, right?
In LA, yeah.
Yeah. That's where he was in LA. Long Beach.
Yeah, that's dirty.
He said it was the most racist department he worked at in Long Beach. Yeah. But I'm gonna say that to say they control your livelihood that way. Even if I might work for you, if you want me to move forward and get a raise or a financial progress, that's how they can control you. Same, working for the police is supposed to be non-biased. You're behind a blue wall, as they say, the blue shield. You're supposed to be all brothers.
Yeah.
But if you're black, guess what? You work for us, but we can't have you with a position of authority. That's what I'm telling you. That's how they control things. So me getting an interview and have another interview just for practice run, that's a form of it because they can control my livelihood. I need money. If I need money, I have to depend on them to hire me. That's why I told you, if I get a degree for free, if I get a trade for free, that's when a white person get hired, they're not going to do it. Not always. I'm not saying everybody, because of course people can slip through the cracks, but that's just one job. If we're in a society built off of racism and financial control, like you said, they used to give house loans to white people, not black people. That still goes on today. If I just came, I seen the video. That's where the credit score comes from. There was no thing as a credit score before black people had their freedom. That's where it comes from. That's a form of oppression.
Yeah, I believe it.
You know what I'm saying? So it's all a system for a purpose, and that's why we say we're not supposed to be. I mean, of course we live here, but we're not supposed to be part of society. We have to take care of each other first, and then build our own things. Obviously, things can still happen, but it's better to be amongst your own people. That's what we're telling you. Not in the form of violence or any type of plotting and planning, but as far as just safety and be able to look at somebody, okay, this is a person that has the same thought process as me, they understand me, and I can trust this person to a certain extent, business-wise or financially, family-wise. That's how it's supposed to be.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's a valid philosophy. If you want to live your life by that, you're free to, but I would.
That's normal thing.
I mean,
if I walk into a cafeteria in high school, I look around, Asians over here, white people over here, Hispanics over here, East Indians over here, white people over here. I'm like, these people look like me. I'm gonna go over here.
I get it.
That's just natural.
That's a natural.
I'm not saying I don't like Hispanics because I think Hispanics are my brothers. I have nothing in common with Chinese people. What do we do over there?
Yeah, I get it. That's a natural human tendency to.
I have nothing in common with white people. The sports is different.
Yeah.
Food, cartoons, whatever. But just off the GPB looking like somebody, I don't feel more comfortable over there.
That's a natural human.
That's my point.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be in a melting pot in America, but America's not treating the melting pot as it should be. They're giving other nations, other people, benefits and propping them up over people that they oppress.
Right. Well, I get it. But on the bright side, though, I do think that the younger generations are a lot less racist than the older ones.
It depends. Like I said, to each his own. Some people get raised in that. I see plenty of videos. I saw a video. It's an older video. I've seen it a couple of times before, but it was a girl in college, drunk white girl, talking to this black girl. Like, you're a nigger and I hate you. Like, the black girl's just laughing like, oh, I know you're drunk, but that's coming out of her. These drunks is saying it. She's like, all right. She could easily just broke her face, but she's like, I'm just keeping it cool because the cameras are on. Like, okay, this person is drunk out of their mind. They're racist. I'm pretty sure if she was sober, she wouldn't have said that, but that's how she really feels.
Racism is definitely it's a mental disease passed from generation to generation. That's how they learn it.
Saying. People get taught that as they're raised.
Yeah.
Because, of course, people go, okay, well, don't, mingle with too many people. Can't stay over anybody's house. That's just safety for the children. But once you get older, you start seeing different things. Okay, well, more than likely, these white people are going to be racist. And, of course, birds of a feather flock together. So the white person, if there's 3 white people amongst a group of 7 white people, 3 of them racist, 4 are not, in order to maintain a peace amongst their own people, they're going to just follow along. They might break up a fight. They might say, oh, don't do that, but they're not going to stop them from doing anything either. Same thing with us. White people can be racist to a certain extent, but we're not enacting that on a daily basis because we don't have any power. You see what I'm saying? White people have power in America. That's the point. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like he was saying, because he with the being racist, and it's not even so much about hating or anything like that. It's just like affirming stereotypes, right? Because if you look at your average black person, right? So a lot of people would assume that they grew up in a single parent household. Yeah, so it's stereotypes, right? Not to say that it doesn't happen, but for you to just off the bat just think that, right? Because there are a lot of us, especially nowadays. Like there are a lot of it was a it was like a generational thing when that was happening, right? During the 80s and the 90s, right? It still happens, but it's far less. It's not as much as you would think nowadays. But that stereotype happened, and it gets stuck with us, right? But when you look at, but the difference being, like I said, with white people being prone to violence, you can see that throughout all of human history. You can when you look at so-called black people, when you look at them, single-parent households is a relatively new thing, right? It's a relatively new thing, but that stereotype is there when it shouldn't be, right? But you got something?
Yeah. Sirach chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy, for as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him, as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. This is the key point. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith.
Right, so he's saying, so we're being told never to trust our enemy, right?
Yeah, so that's the Old Testament right there.
What does that matter?
It's the at that point they're talking about all the civilizations that are occupying the lands the Israelis are going to occupy in the future, and they're saying don't, like, these people, don't make any treaties with them, don't interbreed with them, don't.
No, it's not. It's just saying not to trust your enemy.
Well, no, I'm talking about the context in which that.
This is the Apocrypha. Yeah, the Apocrypha.
Yeah, I have the Apocrypha too. Yeah.
But the context is just saying don't trust your enemy
here.
Yeah,
you're saying this the Israelis?
No,
talking about the Israelis?
No, the people that are occupying the lands the Israelis are going to occupy, because when Israel was occupied by people before the Exodus, when they came in from Egypt, and
the Canaanites.
Yeah, a couple other. There's several, but yeah, the Canaanites were one of them, and God basically told them don't make any treaties with them, don't interbreed with them, don't do that, and don't and then some of them he told them to wipe out completely.
Of course.
So that is in there.
So this is the context of this.
Yeah.
This is way after this.
Yeah, it's far.
The Exodus is way back here. Yeah. This is in the first century. This is the Apocrypha. This is around 200 BC.
Oh, really? That's pretty.
300 BC, maybe 400 BC.
Mm.
But this is still Hebrew manuscripts on this.
Probably talking about those who are opposed to God, maybe like the polytheists or the pagans.
But this is a Jew talking.
Yeah.
So who are the Jews' enemies at this particular time that he's saying?
Look at the Romans.
But this is before the Romans.
Oh.
I'll show you the Bible. Matter of fact. It's a perfect segue.
Because even then, though, what would it be in the Old Testament? What would that matter?
I mean,
so things change.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, we'll get to that. This is Psalms 83:1. Keep not thy silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies, plural, make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head.
Right. So it's talking about the enemies of God. Right.
Yeah.
So the enemies of God are the enemies of His people. The enemies of His people are the enemies of God. It's a distinction without a difference. Right. So he's about to talk about who the enemies of His people are. Right. So in Sirach, like my brother just read, it says not to trust your enemy. Right. Go ahead.
Verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Who's the they? It's talking about a lot of people, right? We're going to get to that.
Yeah, the ones who want to destroy Israel.
Yeah. Are you conspiracy theorists? You get those conspiracies?
I don't.
Secret governments
I'm
and
an evidence guy,
and black and what is it?
Evidence, yeah.
Evidence.
Yeah.
Right. So but you gotta have like some theories to like find the evidence, though, right?
Yeah. I'm open to every. I don't have a particular any particular worldview that blocks me from accepting anything, but I don't accept something just because someone says it. I have to see the
Okay.
reasons behind it.
Reasons behind it.
Yeah.
Because right here, this is we're going into a conspiracy. There's nothing theoretical about it, right? It just said that they're cutting off the nation of Israel, that they don't remember who they are, right? But let's see who's doing it.
For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites.
And you know who those people are?
Ishmaelites?
In the Edomites.
Oh, yeah.
The tabernacles of Edom. You know who they are? Who are they?
Edom, that's, isn't that in Africa?
No.
No, where is it?
No.
Talking about the people.
Oh, the people. Oh.
Who are Edomites today? Because people descend from people in the Bible. You believe in the Bible?
Yeah.
So we're telling you, based upon history, archaeology, and prophecy, we're the people of the book. We're the Israelites. That's why we're not in the land today. Those white people are not the real Jews. You believe that?
I don't know enough about it.
Those Israelis are not the real Jews. But we can get into that later. So yeah, so Edomites exist still right now. The Ishmaelites exist still right now. Do you know who they are today?
I don't.
No idea.
No.
Okay.
I don't know enough.
No, you read them, we tell them. So we're saying that the Edomites of today. What about the Ishmaelites? You know who the Ishmaelites are?
I've heard. I don't know what they are today, but
Okay. So we're saying that the Edomites are European white people. You. Right? Say that you are an enemy of God. You're an enemy of his people. Right? The Ishmaelites are the Arabs. Right? They're enemy of God. They're enemy of his people. Right?
Of Moab and the Hagarenes, the Baal and Ammon, and with Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre, Assur also is joined with them. They have opened the children of Lot, Salah.
So we just named about 11 nations.
I know who the Philistines are. That's Palestine now.
No.
I mean, they're not the original Philistines.
That
They
is-
took on that name.
Yeah.
The Palestinians over there are Arabs. Those are Ishmaelites.
Yeah.
The original Philistines would be sons of Egyptians, which are Africans.
So how did you guys? How do you deduct that? That you said that the Elomites are Europeans.
Edom.
How did you deduct that?
Oh, we can get to that. Let's go there right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, because
We're going to use the Bible, then we're going to use history.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I just want to know.
Yeah, that's not a problem. That's a good question. That's a great question.
so as it said not to trust your enemy, right? And also it also says that, but that was just a list. That was just a handful of nations.
Those are most of the nations that were in.
Those are the main nations that were in charge of consulting against the Israelites.
At that time.
Because those were the nations that were in that area.
Every nation is in, every nation is in, with the people, humanity spread out. But at that